Some messages are meant to be received by the living, and some are meant to stay in the grave with the dead. But every once in a while, a letter or message is sent from beyond the grave. Maybe they were never meant to be opened until now. Maybe the sender was never meant to find peace until their story was told. What we do know is that these letters have something to say. From scary ghost stories to murder confessions, here are 10 haunted letters that should have stayed dead. Number 10. A Message from Beyond. In the year 2000, the Daily Telegraph published a story about a woman named Helen Acton. She had recently moved into her great-aunt's home after she passed away. While sorting through her relatives' belongings, Helen found a strange package in the attic wrapped in brown paper. Inside was a series of letters sealed with red wax. Helen showed them to her father, who told her they must have been sent to his mother when she was alive. Helen proceeded to open the letters, which dated back over 80 years, only to find that they contained a terrifying secret. Each letter was written by a man named Reginald, who had apparently been courting Helen's great-aunt at the time. But there was a problem. Reginald had died before he ever got the chance to marry her. But what made these letters truly creepy was that they continued to arrive long after his death, with the last one being received 7 years after his burial. With no reasonable explanation for how this was possible, Helen eventually came to the conclusion that her great-aunt had been receiving visits from the ghost of her former suitor. No, 9. Grave warning. Imagine coming face to face with your greatest fears as you sort through the possessions of someone you love. That's exactly what happened to one woman named Liz, when she found a dusty box hidden in the attic of her new house. She had recently inherited the home from her late grandmother and wanted to look around the property. As she began to sift through old family belongings, she stumbled upon a box with some old love letters inside. She read through the stack of letters, feeling closer to her grandmother and the early days of her romance with her grandfather. But things took a dark turn when she found one particular note that had a postscript added, after it had already been written. It was as if a third party had gotten a hold of the letter and tried to warn its recipient of something terrible. The postscript read, "If you marry him, you will die within a year." Though the warning went unheeded and her grandmother married her grandfather anyway, Liz couldn't help but wonder if the eerie prophecy would come true for her too. Number 8. A Love That Won't Die. One Reddit user shared the story of a haunted letter he received from his dead friend. His friend had taken his own life several years prior, but his family kept his social media accounts active in the hopes that he might be brought back safely. One day, the account posted a photo of a letter that had been received by one of their relatives. The letter was full of disturbing details, including references to the occult and talk of summoning demons. It spoke of the author's belief that he had made a pact with the devil in exchange for power and fame. He talked about how he was now reaping the rewards of his deal, but also claimed that his friend had been taken by the very same demon he had made a pact with. He ended the letter by saying that he would soon join his friend in the afterlife, but not before finishing his work on Earth. After reading the letter, all of the friend's relatives blocked the account, so they would never hear from it again. But the original poster couldn't help but feel that the spirit of his friend was trying to tell him something. Number 7. A Promise Kept. There are some mysteries that are simply too scary to ignore. Take, for example, the case of one Reddit user who received a letter from a dead person. The letter writer had been dead for more than 100 years before the original poster opened it, yet it still managed to contain disturbing details about his family's past. It all started when the original poster purchased an antique desk at a yard sale. He brought the desk home and began restoring it to its former glory, unaware that it held a dark secret. As he worked on the desk, he noticed that there was a small compartment hidden underneath one of the drawers. When he opened it up, he found a folded piece of paper inside. At first, he thought it might just be an old receipt or some other mundane document. But when he unfolded the paper, he realized that it was actually a letter. The letter was written by a man named William, who had lived in the house where the desk was originally located over 100 years ago. In the letter, William confessed to murdering his wife and burying her body in the backyard. He wrote that he had done it in a fit of rage after she had accused him of cheating on her. And though he had been arrested and convicted of her murder, he had never revealed the location of her body. He ended the letter by begging his family to find his wife's remains and give her a proper burial. The original poster was shocked to read the letter, but he couldn't help but feel a sense of responsibility to finally give William's wife the justice she deserved. He contacted the police and told them about the letter as well as the location of the desk. They were able to recover the body and give her a proper burial, all thanks to the letter that shouldn't have been there in the first place. No. 6. Murder most foul. Another Reddit user shared the story of how a haunted letter led to the discovery of a murder. He was interning at a historical society when he met a woman who was researching her family tree. She asked if he could help her find any records on her great-great-grandfather, who had lived in the area over 100 years ago. He agreed and was able to locate a few documents pertaining to her ancestor. One of those documents was a letter written by a local sheriff. The letter detailed the circumstances surrounding the man's suspicious death, which had been ruled a suicide. But the sheriff believed it may have actually been murder. The letter was never sent and remained hidden for over 100 years until it was discovered by the woman researching her family tree. She was shocked to learn that her ancestor's death may not have been an accident, but she was determined to find out the truth. With the help of the original poster, she was able to uncover evidence that proved the sheriff's theory correct. Her ancestor had indeed been murdered, and the case was eventually reopened. It was a chilling discovery, but it was also an important one that helped to bring justice to a family that had been torn apart by murder. No. 5. A secret admirer. Some secrets are best left buried. Just ask one Reddit user who received a letter from a dead man. The letter was sent by a man named Thomas, who had died 30 years prior. In the letter, he confessed to having feelings for the original poster's mother when he was alive. He apologized for not acting on those feelings sooner and explained that he had been too afraid to leave his wife. He ended the letter by asking for forgiveness and saying that he hoped they could all move forward now that he had finally let go of his guilt. While the original poster was initially shocked to receive a letter from a dead man, he eventually came to accept it as a part of his mother's past. He forgave Thomas and moved on with his life. Number 4. Final confession. Sometimes the dead just can't rest in peace. Take, for example, the case of one Reddit user who received a letter from a dead man. The letter was sent by a man named John, who had died 10 years prior. In the letter, he confessed to a crime he had committed many years earlier. He apologized for what he had done and explained that he had been under a lot of stress at the time. He begged the original poster to forgive him and said that he hoped he could finally move on now that he had confessed the truth. While the original poster was initially shocked to receive a letter from a dead man, he eventually came to understand that John had sent it as a way of finding peace. He forgave John and moved on with his life. No. 3. Hidden in plain sight. Sometimes the dead try to communicate with us in ways we don't expect. Take, for example, the case of one Reddit user who found a letter from a dead man hidden in plain sight. The letter was sent by a man named George, who had died 20 years prior. In the letter, he explained that he had been struggling with his mental health and that he felt like he was a burden to his family. He apologized for any pain he had caused them and said that he hoped they could move on without him. He ended the letter by saying that he loved them and that he would always be with them in spirit. The original poster was deeply affected by the letter, but he also felt a sense of relief knowing that his father had been struggling and that he was unalone. He shared the letter with his family, and they were all able to find peace knowing the truth. No. 2. An unfinished story. There are some stories that are best left untold, like the story of one Reddit user who found a letter from a dead man in his attic. The letter was sent by a man named Robert, who had died 30 years prior. In the letter, he explained that he had been writing a story and that he wanted to share it with his son. He wrote about his adventures as a young man, traveling the world and meeting new people. He said that he wanted his son to know about his life, and that he hoped the stories would inspire him to follow his dreams. The original poster was inspired by his father's letter, and he decided to finish his story. He wrote about Robert's later life, including his marriage and the birth of his son. He shared the finished story with his family, and they were all moved by the love and pride that shone through in every word. Number 1. Letters from beyond. Some messages are meant to be received by the living, but sometimes they're meant to stay in the grave. Take, for example, the case of one Reddit user who received a series of letters from a dead man. The letters were sent by a man named David, who had died 10 years prior. In the letters, David explained that he had been trying to contact his family and friends since he died. He said that he didn't know how to do it, but he was glad that they had finally received his messages. He wrote about his experiences since he died, saying that it wasn't what he expected at all. He said that he was happy and at peace, and that he just wanted his loved ones to know that he was okay. The original poster was deeply affected by the letters, and he felt a sense of relief knowing that his friend was okay. He shared the letters with the rest of their group of friends, and they were all moved by David's story. Those are some scary stories that might have been better off left untold. Do you believe in ghosts? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Until next time, stay safe.